All right, can they hear us now? Oh, I can hear me,
How did you know?
Yes, better. Somebody's.
but now we have an echo.
Is your second computer muted? It is. But.
How about now? Can the people online hear us?
She's checking.
Yes. Great.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm such.
Hello, Kathy. Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, it's time for public comment. Amy, did anyone submit a written comment in advance or request to speak via telephone or virtually?
No, ma'am.
All right, and we have no one in attendance in council chambers, so I'm just going to move ahead to our consent agenda, which consists of the agenda for tonight, October 8th, 2024, council minutes from September 24th, 2024, the council workshop minutes from October 1st, 2024, the August financial report, and a resolution to update fees on single-family utility use, charitable transfer fees, and ambulance rates, which we heard from Fire Chief Winters at the last workshop. Are there any items any member of the council would like removed from the consent agenda at this time? And if not, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it and the motion is passed. We have 5 presentations. All right, I'm up first. All right, I'm up first with I have 2 special proclamations for the people of College Place. First, I'm going to read the proclamation of October 24th as Italian Heritage Month. A proclamation in recognition of October as Italian American Heritage Month. Whereas College Place's Italian American community have contributed greatly to the cultural fabric and demographic landscape of this diverse city since its earliest days. And whereas Italians began migrating to the United States in 1880, and today there are more than 26 million Americans of Italian descent in our country. And whereas the city of College Place is home to a proud and vibrant Italian American community that has undoubtedly impacted the culture and industry. And of course, we have to recognize our own Mike Rizzatello. And now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Norma L. Hernandez, Mayor of the City of College Place, Washington, do hereby proclaim October 2024 to Italian American Heritage Month in College Place. And I encourage all residents to join in celebrating the many contributions of Italian Americans. Dated this date of October 2024. All right. Thank you for your contributions, Mike. Next, a proclamation in recognition of October 14th, 2024 as Indigenous Peoples Day. Whereas the City of College Place recognizes Indigenous people have lived in this land since the time immemorial and values to progress, our society has accomplished through the contributions of the Indigenous people's culture. And whereas natives and non-natives have shared this community for hundreds of years, and the Indigenous people have provided us friendship, guidance, protection. And whereas the City of College Place acknowledges and honors the rich culture and heritage and the achievements of First Nation, Walla Walla, Umatilla, and Cayuse people in our valley. And whereas the City of College Place is committed to be a more just, equitable, and welcoming city for the many people who call College Place home, and recognizes its shared responsibility to honor our nation's Indigenous roots, history, traditions, and cultural contributions. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Norma L. Hernandez, Mayor of the City of College Place, Washington, do hereby proclaim October 14th as Indigenous Peoples' Day, and I urge all residents to respect and honor our diverse community and celebrate and continue to build a culture of inclusiveness and acceptance. Will be dated on the 14th day of October, 2024. All right. So next we have 3 presentations. Okay, I'm gonna read what's in front of me. We have 3 presentations come from our very own talented, extraordinary, celebrated, and widely loved superstar Italian-American, Mr. Rizzatello.
You saw it off the internet?
Yeah, very good.
We can thank our clerk over there,
He wrote it himself.
who will first discuss the 2025 to 2023 capital facility plan.
Okay, so if you could click the booklet, yeah. Okay, so just a little synopsis of this. Every year since 2018, we do 6-year plans for our investment strategies for capital, which is infrastructure for this capital plan. So that's any sort of built asset for administration, fire, police, and then all the utilities, so streets, storm, wastewater, and water. First year tends to be more concrete since we're on annual budgets, and then the next 5 years is really for planning purposes for the outlay as we're trying to save money and make stuff happen. Key thing is there's 2 forms to look at for each of these plans. The first one is what I would call the Cliffs Notes document, which is a spreadsheet that has the name of the asset, the year in which it's slated to be replaced, the cost, and then how to pay for it. So split of funding, grants or local or so have you. If you really want the deep dive, which is what is on the screen here, is the booklet form that is done in PowerPoint. So I'll just touch on the first year and then breeze through the rest of it. Okay, so I have the introduction of the plan, the table of contents where you can go through everything. That's okay. What is the capital facility plan? Especially since in this state it's different from others, since this is actually in the Growth Management Act. So it's all grounded in our comprehensive plan documents. As far as the bigger projects that are going on next year, this is a synopsis of the really large ones. So first one's wastewater treatment plant, the phase 1A, which is changing out some of the headworks, mechanical equipment, and the like. In the water utility, drinking water well 7, that's over on Teal Road. So the hole's already been drilled now. It's aiming toward building the well house and connecting it to the rest of the system. C is Southwest Majanier. This project we've been very successful getting outside grant funds for. Originally, the tax increment finance district was going to cover a large portion of it, and now it's actually slated to come down and only having to cover 18.1% of it. So earmark, Transportation Improvement Board, then MPO is coming up with the remainder. Lift station number 5, which is over on Southwest First, that'll wrap up, and then the big one through Surface Transportation Block Grant through our Metropolitan Planning Organization, and then Transportation Improvement Board, we're actually going to run a sidewalk down Southeast 8th all the way from College to Larch, so you could actually walk all the way down to Lions Park and get there safe, and they'll have bump outs across Larch. So that's a little synopsis. Next slides go into essentially the comprehensive plan and then the tie-ins to the earlier strategic plan. Naturally, when we go through all of our work with the new strategic plan in the forthcoming years, that'll replace that. This is our long-term financial strategy. This is grounded in our financial policies that get reviewed annually. This slide just details process come up with this. So where we do call department heads in August, we refine things in September. We have the public presentations going in October, and then the hearings and the advisory committee presentations and recommendations in November, teeing it up for the hopeful passage at the end of the month of November. Completed projects in 2024, unlike other years, this year's been a very heavy construction year. So we've actually had just shy of 11 million in capital going on this year between Lions Park, the exterior staircase over at the fire department, Damson redoing that, sewer lining, which is going on right now, and then wrapping up well number 2, which seems to be going on for forever, and now that's finally wrapped up. Here is a summary of the splits between the various departments. You can see this coming year, a large portion is within the water utility, mainly because we're teeing up the new water tower, that seismic retrofit at the old one, and then wrapping up the new well. And then as you can see, as it goes into a 6-year outlay, it gets to be a little more split where it isn't just water, but there's a large outlay in streets, which is always a challenge because we have the transportation and benefit district to help now, but that's a very large outlay, so making all that disappear with 0.1%, that isn't going to happen overnight. The capital facility plan next year, and a lot of this you'll see as we get into the funding splits, really is not our own money. So between developer contributions and the wider array of grants we get, about 65% of this is like outside money funding things. So as you can see here, here is the breakout between all various functions. Streets and water is the lion's share, and then all the other ones are fairly subdued compared to that. Capital facility plan, again, you can see our outlay with streets, it's massive, so that's why we get aggressive with the congressional directed spending and all the other grants. And then that is followed up by water, your wastewater, and then parks, and then it goes so on and so forth. The revenue sources, this just ties into essentially the splits on everything. 65% is the grants and developer contributions, but really lion's share is the grants. We are very, very aggressive with that. The prioritization, just go over high, medium, low. High means it's happening this coming year. Medium, it needs to happen, but it's not of immediate concern. And low means it likely won't happen unless we get grants and outside funding that tee us up for it. This is a map of all the various capital investments in the plan. Now getting into facilities, City Hall, we've talked about this past couple of years. So we've been working on the architectural plans. If you actually go into the original plans of this building, there were actually drawings to extend this out when this was originally built, but they actually like ran out of money to do that at the time. So there were plans, it just was never acted upon. So we're trying to act upon it because we're very tight on space here. So you can see here the general concept on how to pay for Sallyport conversion and fixing amenities around this City Hall facility is the congressional directed spending, the hazard mitigation plan. That qualifies us for some brick money and then energy efficiency money. I have a very low percentage as a general obligation bond. Honestly, with some of the changes on the federal level, I'm going to try to cover that with congressional directed spending, but that requires extensive lobbying, so we'll see how that goes. Fire department, this is the changing out the boilers and all the lighting with energy efficiency related items, and all this is being covered through a state earmark through the energy efficiency program. I'm expecting that contract to to essentially hit our books by January. That's what State Department of Commerce has reported. In the meantime, we did get energy efficiency block grant from the state through the Inflation Reduction Act, and that's paying for all the preliminary engineering, and that's grant funded as well. And then you can see other items, the dorm rooms, the dorm room furniture, that all moved from this year because replacing the stairwell ended up being a bit more money than we thought. And that was key to get that out of the way because that was a massive liability, and now it will not be shortly. Police department will essentially the vote will be in November. We have had the discussions with the rural library district. If this bond passes, they are game to sell us that property for the appraised value, and then we would essentially get that to go put the police station over there. But that remains to be seen upon the will of the voters in November. One thing we are going to try to do, though, is go after congressional directed spending to try to buy down the cost of this. There is some movement at the federal level to slide some money in for Homeland Security.
Mike,
Yeah,
Councilmember Peterson has.
Yeah.
The police, yeah, one question I have, I think this is the time to ask. The police station, what is your community feel, voter feel right now on this? Or do you have one, or you don't have to share it if you don't want to?
well, I mean, on the webpage, I will say there's definitely quite a few people viewing it because you can see that by the counts. So a couple hundred people viewing it. And in general, there isn't a ton of talk against it, just more so questioning what is the ins and outs of the project. So really, it's about honing in the voter education more. So, I mean, I would say that part I'm relatively pleased about. So you are not seeing a oh no thing. It's just wanting to know more information. And then just trying to educate people as to the current cost of items as well, because there has been some commentary about essentially the estimated cost. But the thing is, in this state, relative to like even our neighbor in Oregon, just with prevailing wage and other items the state puts on you, it really boxes you in as far as costs go. So that really drives a lot of it. But in general, I think we are sitting pretty good. Chief Tamaris is doing educational campaigns on the radio and the paper. We had the coffee with a cop last week. A lot of people showed up for that and were supportive. So
Apple Valley News, I believe he
Yeah,
interviewed him today.
So, yeah,
yeah,
I agree.
yeah,
I've had conversations in the past week or two, and it's interesting. People, it's the education part
Yeah.
of it, right? You know, and you guys are doing a full court press on this
Yeah.
thing, right?
yeah,
But it is interesting, even a couple of days ago,
yeah,
where somebody said, "Don't they have a new building from before?" And I go, "No, they've got a bathtub
yeah,
in their, so it's, hopefully, I think we're doing a good job with that. It just seems there's a lot of not a lot. Let me back up. There is some thinking that, where is the station now? I thought it was a new station. No, it's not a new station. And you go through this whole process of trying to explain that this was like a dormitory or
Yeah.
whatever it was before, right?
yeah,
So that's part, I mean, I don't want to, drag this out. I'm just saying it's really important to tell people that what the condition of that is, the building is now. And I know they're doing that.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Yeah.
I was surprised just a couple of days ago, I was still hearing this stuff. And I
Yeah.
thought we had tapped that down.
yeah,
We're never going to tap it all the way down. But I'm just letting you know.
yeah,
So Mike, Chief Tamaris and I had a conversation today regarding putting an education and outreach plan together of how to, you know, what kind of things really the community wants to hear. And they just want to know what it means, all right?
Yeah.
But I also mentioned that, you know, I said, maybe even do a video and actually show people the tree growing in your office, right?
Yeah.
Which means there's, you know, the earth has now penetrated the broken floorboards and, right? So he's gonna start working on that. I said,
Yeah.
I think that people really need to see what it is that they're voting to replace.
Okay, thanks.
Project webpage on that has been built. It's been shared on social media, and we're trying to do a full court process. I believe City Attorney Caldwell mentioned before, this in this state, you have to be very careful about how you do the presentations, because you can't be for or against this. Us presenting the information, people that can take that in various avenues, so you have to be careful.
Yep, Councilmember Williams?
So as I recall, when we talked about what we can and can't do, although the staff have to be very careful,
Yeah.
the council can vote to endorse this bond or recommend that people vote for it, or I'm not sure exactly what the wording is. And I would like us to do that if we can, because I think we can,
Yeah.
so.
Ms.
can
Colwell,
vote, but can
what's
we-
your
can we-
feedback?
But can we say what our vote is? Is that your question?
No, I think we can, and I think we should.
Express what our vote is gonna be?
No, so like,
Council.
the council comes out in favor of voting yes on the bond.
Ms. Colwell, what's your opinion on that?
Yes, let me get to a spot where I can turn my video on so you can see me. Okay, there we are. Yes, city council can as a group take up the issue of whether city council wants to vote to in support or not in support. And if I remember correctly, Chief Tamaris brought this to council at a workshop. So maybe it's just fallen off of his radar at the moment. I know he's going through some pretty intensive training right now with his officers. So I can make that inquiry. We could do consider it at the next council meeting if council wants to do that. Did that answer the question?
All right, thank
Yes,
you.
And I would like to have that on the agenda if we can.
Okay. I will work with Mary Elizabeth and we will get that back before you for consideration.
My understanding that we can tell people how we as individuals are voting. We can't say we can't tell them that the city is telling them how they have to vote though.
That is correct. As
Yeah.
an individual, you can advocate, just not as a representative of
Right.
the city. Now, if people know your city council member, that's totally fine.
And then I'll just say, look, for city managers, since I'm in the International City Manager Association, we even are more encumbered by things in that code of ethics. So that's why I'm trying to be a little cagey on that, because I need to protect myself, so.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions or?
Councilmember Cleveland?
We have one more council meeting until November 2nd when the thing goes. How difficult would it be to draft something that we could vote on tonight? Was that feasible at all or no?
No, if according to the rules, if someone wants to add to the agenda, or we can do it as other business at the end of the meeting, if someone wants to make a motion to support, that can be done without anything written right now.
I would like that.
So in other business, we can bring it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would request that to have a motion placed in an opportunity to discuss it and a motion made in other business at the end of our meeting.
All right, will do, thank you. All right, Mike, go ahead.
Okay. And if you need to stop me, just please let me know, because I tend to get in the zone because I don't want to take too much of everyone's time. Now going into infrastructure. So this is our key assets. So parks, storm streets, full corridor improvements and the like. So I'll just go over ones that'll be going down next year. So getting into parks, Veterans Park. So this one, Park Board has been working on quite a bit. So general concept there, when Homestead was developed, some playground equipment did get put out there. And then pathway, we have the Korean War monument out there. But as far as active recreation amenities, that besides the playground equipment, there is none. So general concept here is they had and this is based on surveys in the community too. In Homestead, the park board supervised about 2 years ago. The addition of pickleball court, basketball court, change out the playground equipment because the existing playground equipment isn't commercially rated. It was stuff the developer donated to us, which was great at the time, but for insurance purposes, long-term, that's like not what should be out there. And also a restroom and better circulation paths and trees. So engineering is underway right now. This is park board's been really monitoring this. And the idea, and we've chased after additional grants because originally we weren't going to change out the playground equipment, but then we realized we needed to. So we've been chasing additional state money to make that happen, as well as some grants like through T-Mobile Foundation and things like that to make this a reality. So as we wrap up Lions Park, this is the next one, although not near the complexity. So this should be able to be done in an abbreviated schedule. Lions Park Community Center, this one, the idea here, so we're still fundraising for this, but to make sure that we aren't in a waiting game, we went ahead and we asked, so the 0.09 economic development funds, the port has half of it and then the county has half. We never really hit up the county for their portion. We did with this because the idea is, hey, let's get the full architectural plans done and let's not encumber it in all the state and federal grant rules. So they did award us a 0.09 grant. So we're grading proposals, but the idea is to let the architectural contract and then get going on this while we get the money together and make this a reality. And as you can see, the general concept is really divvying up funds through various state earmarks. Then the state even has money now for specifically for libraries. So that is a pathway. And then also through the various federal earmarks. So that is the general plan, of rack and stack until we have the funds. Yep.
Councilmember Williams.
Thank you. Back when we were talking about getting a library and when the library had that property that we're thinking
Yeah.
about trying to buy for the police station.
Yeah.
I remember the library having a bunch of money to build a library in College Place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is some of that going towards this building?
That is the general idea. They did issue a letter to get our first state earmark where it said they were sitting on 2.1 million to be
Okay,
put towards it. And I'm trying to get this done with like federal and state money, just because I figure once we actually build stuff, there's going to be a lot of stuff to go put inside of it. So
fair enough.
yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to check
Yeah.
on that. Thank you.
Yep.
So that levy was passed. It's almost impossible to put that back in the can.
What do you mean?
The library to be.
Yeah, to reverse that levy.
Not in the library?
Yeah.
That would have to be essentially putting it on a ballot from this council or even another government body, and that'd have to be a vote of the people, and I'd have to check percentages, but it would take
Yeah.
another vote.
Yeah. But it's possible.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
yep. Okay, any other? Okay. And then these are just other park projects in future years. One, the park board's working on is we have some extra property by, one of our drinking water wells. So doing like a bike pump track with playground equipment, Autumn Meadows and Perseverance Park, linking those two together. Again, I'm trying not to spend much time because this is future year outlays. Kiwanis Park rehab. This one is just fixing the turf and the sprinklers on the north side of the park, circulation path and lights at the pickleball. I projected this out for future years, but actually we do have RCO grant in now, where if it does become reality, because it's actually in a census block of need, if that gets funded, that would pay for 90% of it. So this one could bump up sooner. So just throwing it out there. This park, that'll be predicated on the development going southwest of College in Majanier, and they have filed their application through master plan development process. We just need a couple of little more tidbits of information, but this is the whole development as a whole. We're seeing documents trickling, which is good. So it looks like we're reaching a critical path on that. And then Harvest Meadows, this would be later on, but just change out some equipment and signage out there. This map, I just like throwing in here because I always hear questions as far as like what's federally classified, what isn't, because a lot of our grant sources depend upon federal classification. So, and that's triggered by traffic counts, typically over 500 a day. So any of the roads you see that are colored in red, in the green, the purple and the yellow, those are federally classified. So that means you can get transportation improvement board grants, infra grants, things like that. For the rest of the streets, you're really dependent upon either our local funds or the other item, which is why we're getting the plan done, is that new Safe Streets and Roads for All program. That's like the first federal program that doesn't trigger classification. So that is excited to see. Full corridor improvements. So this means that a road's getting replaced, but then also stuff underneath is getting replaced too. So roads and utilities underneath. Okay, Majanier, this is the heavy lift for next year. We're wrapping up the right-of-way acquisition. We have grant funds for that, a couple of straggler properties, but we're dealing with it. The general gist is to get this position to get out to bid by next summer. I would expect this to go more so over a year, because not only is it reconstructing a road, but then there's a pretty critical water main going underneath there too, that's going to link our new well and then eventually the new water tower. So it's a really key corridor.
Mike, I have a quick question. How is the Majanier project and the Stone Creek project going to intersect each other? Or would they, regarding timing? Because if we're not going into bid until later 2025.
Yeah.
So that means they won't even start building probably, or the road probably not until after the winter.
So put it this way, I think it's going to actually dovetail nicely, because the nice part about the master plan development process is the developer can essentially petition us for all the various phasing and what they want to do for the whole development. However, there is a higher bar there for the hearing examiner pass. So I think getting that through the process, because you aren't going to have to keep going through multiple processes. It's a singular process, and then whatever the hearing examiner finds they can do or not do. So I think that's going to take longer to get through that hearing examiner process. So I think it's probably going to line up pretty well.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
neither, well, not make sure, because it's not like we can control it. I just wanted to know if either one's going to slow the other
Yeah.
down. Okay.
Okay, East-West Road, this one, really the majority of it, the developer's dealing with to make sure we get a nice quality road that fits all of our standards. We're having the TIF take care of the engineering. That way we have all the plans to our specifications, and it's here, go build it, and they will need to build it. And that road will start off at College Avenue and then cross, we have the right of way already, but it does does transect Mr. McKiernan's property, and then it gets in a lakeside property and will eventually essentially end over at Teal Road, which is by the property that the school district has. So pretty key road right there. And then this is just future year stuff, and we're trying to get grants and make this a reality, but really the next federal classified road that really needs to be reconstructed is 12th Street, and we don't even have like engineering on that yet. So literally it's like trying to stack grant money and make that happen, but that is the goal. Same with Cedar Avenue. I believe there's a pathway through various ecology programs and also state appropriations. And then Dewey, ideas that go through the State Department of Transportation programs, and then our utilities, because infrastructure underneath needs to be redone. And then the last part of 12th, which is the section from Dewey and Myra Road, and that's a very extensive one. That will occur after the section it's redone in the older part of the community. But we're just putting it on there because you never know with the various federal grant programs. It could be the year, and that's why you put it in the plan, so that way you can move things around if need be. So now before I go into storm, is there any questions on the full corridor stuff? Okay, I will go to the storm projects then. So with this is the decant facility. So this is where essentially street sweepers go separate the liquid from the solid material. So general gist here is to go put it out near wastewater treatment plant. We've done the engineering. So now we're getting the construction, and the general idea there is State Department of Ecology hit them up for half of it. And then we recently got engaged in the Wawa 2050 work, and they actually have direct state earmark authority to just randomly slide in capital projects in the state budget. And at least from what they published preliminarily, they have said they're recommending essentially to give us essentially 50% as a grant. So we should be sitting pretty good on that. Birch Avenue, this one has been one I've been wanting to see for a while. So State Public Works Trust Fund, they awarded us funds for this. So it's a redo the utilities underneath, put a nice pavement cap on it, sidewalk, and then also fixed pavement on 6th Street as well, and then a water main that we're having issues with. So that we have the engineering done on that. So moving it to construction, but that's going to make a big difference in that neighborhood. Dry well installation, we did that study a couple of years ago. So every other year we try to budget some money to change out dry wells. That's just a way to essentially inject dry water into aquifer, into shallow aquifer. Public Works Yard storm, just putting in the appropriate stormwater infrastructure. There is like a little creek that runs through there, and there isn't really treatment at all. So dealing with that appropriately, it's in our stormwater utility plan that the state had us do a couple of years back. And then we're still aggressively going after Earl Lane to try and make that happen. So with that one, we tried to get that tied in with the Spagnuolo loop work a couple of years ago, but that ended up being a lot more money, so this fell out. This isn't as severe as Spagnuolo, but it still gets some flooding in the street. So we're trying to get money for that. And then urban forestry enhancement, this is covered by a U.S. Forest Service grant. So that grant is going to pay for the addition of a park worker that deals with urban forestry stuff for 2 years, but then also trees and irrigation. So trees and irrigation on Whitman between Homestead and Hampton Lane, and then the like on Majonier Road, and then the east-west road as well. And then this is really important, although I wouldn't think it based on the dollar value. But with this has kept us from qualifying for federal program that could potentially really pay for a lot of our stormwater infrastructure. We have a study done that they paid for, the USDA NRCS, and it basically said you need to get us data on the stream. So we need gauges, and Wall 2050, they have actually recommended, we'll see if the budget passes the legislature, but they voted to pay for all that. So that would put gauges on Garrison Creek and Stone Creek. And then hopefully we can get enrolled in that program. And then 10th Street, this is the twin to the earlier project a couple of years ago. So putting in appropriate storm inlets and such so it doesn't sheet drain in Garrison Creek. We have engineering grant money. We're working through that now, but then move on to construction and get it to match on the other side. And then the outfalls, we've been very aggressive getting ecology grants. We have a very long list of about 70 of them to work through. So get the engineering done and then move to construction. And we've been slowly moving through all of those. And then that's the storm element. Any questions on the storm element?
I do have a quick question.
Yeah,
Public Works yard.
yeah.
So I saw it was a total of 600,300, and with our Public Works fund being well funded,
Yeah.
have you thought about maybe just doing it at once?
Well, so you'll see that later on, that the yard I actually put in streets and I have the other utilities covering it. That storm element is that even when we move the public works area, there's an active creek running through there that needs to be mitigated. And our plan says we have to do it. So it's getting the grant funds to make that element.
That's just for that part.
Yeah, there's like a creek that just runs right on the surface through a parking lot in there. So
I always thought it was just water, sitting
No,
water.
it's actually a creek that just runs through.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Paper, waterfront.
Right, there you go. Any other questions? Councilmember Jessup?
Just for quick clarity, thank you. So anytime we can prioritize, not having that stuff go in the creeks is great. So these are all next year or two. And are we saying, when you say, how do we pay for it? Are these things that we're pursuing or have already obtained in terms of paying for it?
A lot of stuff for year one is stuff we have obtained. Stuff you see listed as 2026 and beyond. There's a lot of hypotheticals put in there, but it's funding programs that likely it could qualify for. But the stuff for next year is pretty solid. Other questions for?
Nope, keep on keeping on.
Right now, streets, this is just dealing with the street elements of the actual surface and not underneath. So chip seal, our REIT 1 pays for this. This took a hiatus this year because the county was using rock that didn't fit our specifications, and people got very grumpy with that. It was larger type of river rock. They're gonna go back to the traditional next year, so we'll start that back up next year. And again, the idea is that we don't have enough money to go rebuild everything, so this just gets more useful life out of the stuff. So that's a general idea here, to try to extend the useful life of buy us time so we can go chase after more funds to make it a reality. Block resurfacing. So this came about from the trend in the past couple of years before we had transportation benefit district. Various crises would be involved where essentially out of random circumstances, a block of road will end up getting redone. This is trying to formalize it, so there's a methodology to it. A lot of this is tied from that pavement management plan y'all authorized and approved a couple of years back. So this is just the implementation of it. So REIT 1 covers the first 34,000 with the remainder coming out of the transportation benefit district. And then Safe Walk College Place, this is our sidewalk program. So with this primarily is grant funded. So in past years, it was community development block grant. In recent years, we're using active transportation grant through Transportation Improvement Board. And then WASDOT, they have a ped and bike program and safe routes to school. So the sidewalk project I mentioned on 8th Street, that is part of this program. Likewise, there's other projects moving through here as well. In fact, we're going to have a site tour with Department of Transportation on Friday, where they're actually looking at potentially funding sidewalk down Central and Birch. So,
Councilmember Peterson has
yeah.
I'm sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
I'm going back. Don't go back,
Oh.
but mentally.
Yeah.
Go back. Chip seal.
Yeah.
What's the budget for that each year?
So when we started it was around like 70, and then due to cost escalations, it's around 100 now.
So if the city had more money,
Yeah.
you would do more chip sealing.
With the money we could get, I would do chip sealing. If we had quite a bit more money, I'd try to do another block of road on us.
So if you had another 280,000 available.
Yeah.
You could use it.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, as you saw in the CFP, our
So-
6-year outlay just on streets is over $67 million.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and if you look at all the previous iterations of this book, even though we're trying to make headway with inflation and costs of items, it just keeps, we're chasing it.
And I think 280 is an interesting number, and I think it's a common understanding where that number might come from. On an annual basis. So, thank you.
Okay. Downtown parking lots. So this is coming out of our tax increment financing district. This is cool. So you all approved closing on the one property across the street, and then it looks like it looks like the dominoes are gonna fall on two of the ones in front of it. So we have a really nice parking lot that could go deal with all the needs and hopefully transform our downtown corridor. So this is neat how it's all coming together. Signalization of Stone Creek Lakeside development. This could either be a signalization or a roundabout. This would be the intersection of that east-west road and College Avenue. So we have JUB doing the engineering and all the analysis right now to figure out what is the best way to deal with it. So once we start having some early level analysis, I'll be given to you, and then we'll work through it. But regardless, that intersection is going to have to be dealt with as it gets developed. And then this is essentially just getting a guardrail. This is that wall at Lamperti in College, and we keep having vehicles and other items go over said wall. So in the winter time, so we had engineering done this year. We should have a pretty good conceptual plan in a couple weeks to give to you all, take a look at, and then move forward on getting this thing mitigated the correct way, because this keeps being a repeated issue.
Councilmember Williams?
Quick question on this particular one. My daughter is looking at Arizona's transportation, and she's finding that electric vehicles tend to be electric and hybrids are much heavier. And the standards have not yet been updated to account for that. But in this particular one, we might ask our engineers to, make sure that it could handle a heavier vehicle.
Yeah,
Good point.
good. That's good, catch. Thank you. Okay, and then this one, this would just be early level engineering, figuring out what could fly, what doesn't, and then get together all the funding. As I mentioned it earlier, workshops and construction to get that one property, it's to the south of Stone Creek, developed, and really to get better access into that property where the eventual new school goes. Really Ofty Lane needs to be developed, but the only way WASDOT will allow that to connect to a state highway is if you do some sort of roundabout traffic circle. What you see above there is very conceptual. That was basically spaghetti on the wall, but just putting it out there, put it out there, that really get the circulation and get the appropriate egress in a 125. That is going to have to be mitigated. Years ago, the state wanted to change out everything to roundabouts, but to do that for the whole corridor, like 5 years ago, was like $36 million. So who knows what it is now? So we really need to bump this ahead of the other ones. Otherwise, it could have a chilling effect on development down that way. Whitman and Davis. So I'm working on the grant agreement for this. Now we have local road safety plan. The highway safety program for the state, they've agreed to fund this and there's no match. So this will put pedestrian street lamps down Whitman from Adams to Davis. The pedestrian street lamps you see on 4th Street, they'll also run them down Davis from Whitman all the way down to 6th. And then they agree to bump up funding to replace the asphalt that's in pretty bad shape on Davis from 4th to 6th. And then also put in a sidewalk from 4th to 6th. So they'll clean up that whole corridor. So I would expect we'll see that grant agreement for approval by you all probably within a month or so. And then Rose Street, the pedestrian light project, we've put in for additional money. You've all approved this. We working through some of the engineering checkups. We come to find out on this is some of what was in the earlier level plans were not what was in the built environment, which led to a pretty significant cost increase, like very significant cost increase. So Transportation Improvement Board, they recommended a resubmit it under their various grant programs. We should hear back in a couple weeks. But this is one of those things where apparently don't trust a drawing that has an engineer stamp on it, which I always thought you could.
1.5 million difference.
Yeah, that's another, yeah.
It's just every contractor requires as-built before you hand over the final money.
Yeah, it's a source of irritation, that one. Yeah. Whitman Home Depot, this one we turned in the granting application, so we're waiting to hear back. Really change that intersection into roundabout to facilitate better access into the property to the south. So that one remains to be seen, but we have turned it in, so we are waiting to hear back on that. And then 12th and Larch, this one we've talked about for a number of years. And we also submitted a Transportation Improvement Board. They have about 4 different grant buckets. So we made sure to submit a project in each different bucket so we didn't compete against ourselves. This one would be to essentially convert that intersection to a roundabout. This initial concept has been floating around since the early level plans on this, back when I started in like 17, 18. So yeah, trying to get money and make that happen. And the idea there is that it sets up 12th Street for eventually, as we do those other phases, going toward College and toward Myra, and just continue it and clean it up.
Mayor, I have a question.
Councilmember Espinosa.
Mike, so both on the Whitman and Home Depot and
Yeah.
also Larch and 12th,
Yeah.
can we reevaluate the prioritization and maybe move them up to higher priority? And the reason I say that is because 12th and Larch, there's been a lot of accidents on that intersection, and it just seems that there's more traffic, more
Yeah.
cars. So I think that it's something that we need to address sooner rather than later to avoid any more accidents or issues from happening, because it's really busy. It's
Yeah.
getting very, very busy. So.
I agree.
Yeah, I would say with the Whitman Home Depot and and both the 12th and Larches, I mean, they're both slated to be dealt with within the next 2 years. When I put those high medium ones, that's just a temperature scale, I'll say, like if the grants fell through or something. But they're both slated as critical projects.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then this just goes into future years, so I'm not gonna belabor those too much. So just fixing a wall on Larch, so we're doing some engineering analysis. The public works yard replacement, so this one would be in future years, but I would invite you all, if you haven't been out there, take a look at the existing yard, because elements of that thing actually date back to before the city was a city, back when the tank was part of the irrigation district 1. So a lot of older buildings there. And I'll just say, since a lot of our staff that have been here a long time retired and we have a new generation, the ability of putting up with certain elements of the built environment are not what it was. So I'll couch it that way for morale purposes. So we've done a site analysis, but we're trying to look at sites closer to the interior of town, but there are so many sites in this community that are encumbered with really strange stuff where none of them were super plug and play. So the general gist now is to look at putting the new yard out on the edge of like the treatment plant property. So we're evaluating that more. I mean, now it looks like it's further out, but like in 10 to 20 years, people probably think it was smart as the city grows out that way. So, but we looked at several sites, and it was either going to trigger, I'll just say, like, people not wanting to sell it would turn into a whole condemnation battle, or just being encumbered by creeks or other weird things that wouldn't make it usable.
Okay, now I feel silly because total cost is 14 million, and I'm saying, why don't we just do it if it's
Yeah.
only 600,000?
Yeah. But
Now I
all
see.
these are expensive now. And then if you put them off, they just keep growing. If you look at the older plans, sadly, that's where it goes. That's why we have to chase the grants. And then you'll see that as we go on, going in future years, we try to position us for community development block grant, dealing with that 9th Street that's like a dirt gravel road. So we keep putting in the applications, and I think we'll hone it in. This one, trying to work with City of Walla Walla, bump this up, dealing with the whole Myra Garrison Village Way intersection. But it's old adage, takes two to tango, because we don't own Myra Road. City of Walla Walla does. So I always put that in there, have a match should everything coalesce, because you never know.
I think it's a good idea,
Yeah.
because we do have residents at the villages that they bring that up all the time.
A lot.
Because it's a safety issue, right?
Yeah.
So
A lot.
I think it's good to always remember it in there.
Yep. Whitman and Larch, dealing with that. The traffic count issues aren't near as bad as 12th and Larch, but still it's listed in all the other plans where we had analyses done. Whitman Drive, similar items. So in future years, rebuild the section from Academy Way to Martin Airfield, because when the development was built in, they didn't rebuild the whole road. So it's like in 3 sections, and the sections are falling apart pretty good. So dealing with that. So that concludes the street portion. Any questions on this? Yeah.
Councilmember Jessup has a question, but I'm just gonna say, we're only on 68 of 80.
Yeah.
So if there's any things that, like you said, that aren't in the next 2 years, let's
Yeah.
go ahead
Yeah.
and just move
Yeah.
on.
Okay.
Okay, Councilmember
Yeah.
Jessup?
Thank you. So when you guys are doing the surface level and you're resurfacing or kind of reconstructing the streets,
Yeah.
I don't know how this works, the process works. Some of them had bike lanes, and I didn't necessarily see it written down that some of them had bike lanes, but how does that work? Is that you guys think that through? You try to put those in there, or is it a whole bunch of process that I'm not aware of?
When we pay the engineers to evaluate the corridor, it's really what is the available right of way? Can it be fit in there? In general, with the federal classified roads, that is a guideline of theirs now that they want bike lanes on all of them. So in general, we try to fit them in. But then you have to weigh it against if you're in an older neighborhood and let's say you're taking away people's parking and they only have driveways, how you deal with that. But in general, even if we have to get funds to go acquire right the way we try to fit in the bike lanes.
Awesome, thanks.
No other questions? All right, wastewater project.
Okay. Okay, wastewater treatment plant. We've talked about this at past meetings, so just moving forward with the plans that we have out there. And we have our federal earmark and then the ecology funding. And then the cool thing is, just to mention it, evaluating the whole Gardena concept. Wawa 2050, they did recommend giving us the funds to do that study. So that should make it through, and then we'll really be able to hone in our homework on that. Lift station number 5, this is this carryover from this year. So wrapping that up, replacing it with an appropriate lift station and then nice new roads with sidewalks. So making that reality, wrapping it up next year early. And then with this, it just gets in future year projects. Wastewater, we've really honed in on all grants on that, so we're actually sitting pretty good there as we get those larger scale improvements done. Any questions on wastewater before I go into the final utility? Sorry. Okay. Okay, so water utilities. So this one you'll see listed as either well number 7 or 8 because irrigation 14 beat us to the punch. In the state system, they listed as 8 now, so it's 8 apparently. This one it's drilled, so it's just building the well house and hooking it up to Majanier. The water tower, we're doing really good on this. So 1 million gallons, put in perspective, that's about double storage of the existing tank, the old tank we have here. And a lot of this is being covered by Army Corps money, federal earmarks, State Department of Health is giving us money. And then we're using TIF to cover the water main underneath Majanier. So that is going to be really transformative. That's that whole main. And then this is the water tower itself up on the grounds of the treatment plant, but it'll even out the pressure in the community and really allow us to adequately serve South and Western College Place. And then this one, we're working on the engineering now. This is FEMA money paying for it. So seismic retrofit, because that tank is from the 40s. So really beefing it up and then refreshing the paint job on it as well. So we're getting the engineering done in position that to move forward. And then well number 3, the generator, that was our good well when we went through the water crisis. And believe it or not, that did not have a generator on it. So we are positioning it to have a generator because that is one of our highest producing wells. And then we have our high priority water main replacement program through the water utility. And then we also have a medium one as funds allow as well. And then our table of acronyms, and with that, that concludes it.
You boogied right through those last
Yep.
ones. Thank you. Any questions or comments for Mike on the last part? Councilmember Cleveland, Peterson.
So every other day I get asked, what's the completion date on Lions? What are your thoughts?
Okay, I'll tell you what the contractor's saying. I'll tell you what I think.
No, yeah.
So contractors have a rosy picture of like January because I learned my lesson when we touched Kiwanis Park a couple of years ago. I'm telling everyone May before farmers market because I feel no matter what that'll happen. So May is the date I am telling everyone, although it may be done earlier, but I'm not gonna say that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
How's it proceeding?
good. Good.
They got this-
A lot of it's been the underground work. They're wrapping that up now. So now you're gonna start seeing stuff come out of the ground and they all move
Yeah,
quick.
and the stream is back?
Yeah,
The stream is back, so water's
Yeah.
rolling over there?
yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
All right.
Hold on, Norma, I've got a question.
No, Councilmember Boyle.
Has there been any conversation? I have this thought that goes through my head every morning when I drop my daughter off at school. The street on Whitman, and I can't remember, it goes College Avenue, Ash.
Birch.
Is that the
Birch.
one that goes up into
Yeah,
the driveway?
Birch.
Okay, so has there been any conversation about making that cross a four-way stop or anything like that, rather than just the two ends? Have any stop there on Whitman?
I mean, I've never heard that posed before, but I mean, we could always have, anything like that, we have to have JUB do a memo so it covers us.
I just
but-
see every morning when I'm dropping kids off, even though the speed limit is 20 through there, people come flying through. I have seen kids that are at those crosswalks waiting, that are walking to school, that especially during different seasons when the sun is always in just that right spot, you don't see them on the sidewalk. And so they're starting to step and people don't see them. And I have seen so many kids come close. And I always think, why can't we just make them stop? So
Where's this at?
on Whitman, right there at Birch, where right now Whitman does not have a stop, but if they did, you could turn up into the Davis Elementary School parking lot pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's something we could definitely take a look at.
okay.
Yeah.
I've just seen so many close calls there and have almost, I mean, it's just an ugly one for me.
Please do,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
Let them know. All right. So if we don't have any more further questions, we're going to move on to the 2025 to 2030 equipment replacement plan. Is that what's next?
Yep.
Okay, so maybe we can do the 2025 to 2027.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
gonna blast through these.
Oh, wait, did we? Oh, we missed the
Yeah,
IT. I missed the IT.
No, no problem. Okay, so again, 6-year plan with IT. This one is relatively simple, just because we've done so much investment in this that you're actually starting to see the outlay in IT drop down some, because we have finally been catching up. So again, goals here are trying to improve customer service, workflow, security naturally, and then the management of our records and our information. And then we have mainly Dell computers. We have IT analysts now that's full-time, so we actually have IT in-house. And then a lot of our software tends to be over on the cloud, and then really finish out migration from our legacy server-based systems like BIOS and so forth to the full Tyler ERP solution. So you'll see here, this gives you a decent snapshot where when we were moving over from all those legacy software, we were just shy of like 600,000, and then it's starting to drop back down into normal. And since this is software, it's used all over the place. I think we're going to be in a good position, I'd say, for the next like decade or so, as long as we maintain that status line of the 7-year replacement schedule for computers, the server replacement schedule, and now we're in stable software, which is really good. A lot of completed projects. So luckily with our ARPA, we moved to a lot of good cloud-based solutions utilized by everyone, like Next Request for the public records, and then the metadata for our social media protect us, and then Backflow device software as well. So a lot of good stuff. In 2025, you'll see a lot of this is born in administration and finance with that Tyler solution. And then it's split at very subdued levels across the other departments. As we move through, very similar trend line with Tyler and all of that, and a lot of stuff having to do with records, all born in administration, finance, and then followed by police, and then the others are fairly close there. And then similar prioritization. And then going into administration and finance, just continuing our replacement schedule, keeping our free internet at our parks and so forth. And then fully implementing Tyler and phasing out all of those really old archaic softwares. And then here is our software maintenance agreements and who we use with the links if you're so inclined to take a look at that. Community development, moving to Tyler for that as well, so everything talks together. Bluebeam, which is marking up the building plans, that's used by a lot of folks. As of our local gov, we use that for our short-term vacation rental, and then SurveyMonkey. Fire department, the firehouse maintenance software, and then the software that the state requires as well. Police department, keeping up our body cameras, the secure VPN, which allows us to keep our accreditation, that's a requirement. And then the security cameras, keeping all those up, which have really helped deter crime. Public Works Department, implementing Tyler Asset Management System, so everything is in the Tyler wheelhouse. And then the backflow system, which we use, our Public Works folks like that really well. And then maintaining our maintenance on Esri GIS, which is where all maps come from. And with that, that is the plan.
Excellent. All right. Questions or comments for Mike? Councilmember
Just first.
Williams and then Peterson.
I just wanted to first off compliment the plan and the thinking that went into it. It looks really good for something that's said to be thrown together. But, and I also wanted to highlight that one of the things that people really appreciate is the Wi-Fi in the parks.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that we are keeping that.
Thanks.
So.
Yeah.
We're kind of in the gravy days right now.
Yeah.
If we go back a while, we were, I'll call it high anxiety.
Yeah. Yes.
The library fund of Portland, Oregon had abandoned us. That's not what they were called, but it's close.
Yeah.
So who's managing our infrastructure right now? Is there-
John Anthony's our full-time IT analyst.
Okay. And I know we hired that
Yeah.
position.
Yeah.
So that individual has taken the place of a outside agency.
Yeah.
That we had been shopping for, correct?
Yes.
Because we were thinking about him and
Yeah.
others.
Yes.
But it's him.
Yes.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah, we at first when that wrench was thrown in our plan, we had both because we were trying to deal with a crisis, and we basically found out that luckily with the money we've been putting in and improving stuff, it's at a place where you don't really need two sides of the coin. So and then he proved himself as well. So he's been doing a
So that's
spectacular
worked out well.
job. Yeah.
That's really good news because
Yeah.
I know there was a time period there where, there were some sleepless nights almost.
Yeah.
On how
Yeah.
So good to hear, Mike. Thank you.
Mike saying, tell me about it.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments, Councilmember Jessup?
For future conversation, I know maybe this is doomsday, but it's been happening more and more. And John does a really good job. I
Yeah.
remember working with him.
Yeah.
We're continuing to put in these plans, positions to mitigate all the tech dangers that are out there that happen throughout the states, and or we're in a position there where we can not only just mitigate, but also recover quickly.
Yeah.
If something were to happen.
Yeah.
That's budgeted, that's planned and all that.
Well, yeah, I mean, our insurance, we have cybersecurity coverage that covers all of that. In addition, we have several backups as well. And then we're also part of, I'll just say, a tech alliance that tries to short circuit potential threats.
Great. Any others?
Oh.
Ms. Colwell?
Thank you. I just wanted to put a little input into John A. He's been great as an employee for me, and then my office is close to his. And what I've seen him be able to do and how he serves the rest of the city staff is really excellent.
Thank you for sharing that. All right. Okay, I want to make sure I'm on the right page here. Okay, so we had the equipment replacement, that was information technology. Do you have something else now?
Now we have
Equipment replacement.
Okay, I have equipment replacement
Oh.
before technology. Okay,
It's,
All right,
it's
so I'm
6
not crazy.
plans, so.
I'm not crazy. Okay, go for it.
Okay. Pretty much, this similar concept, so by this time, you know how we set it up, so we've been investing a lot in our equipment, definitely compared to years ago, it like looks professional and stuff you want to be proud of, so you can see equitably, we've been investing in police, the fire, new ambulance there, thanks in part to ambulance utility, that really has saved our ambulance service, because, I mean, they get called a lot. I mean, their call volumes are equal to pretty much the city of Pullman, when city of Pullman's 3 times our population. So given the fact they're fully careering, we're like volunteers backed up by full time, it's pretty amazing. The equipment replacement plan summary, you can see the split here. Really looking at the investment, I would say the stuff where we're always trying to throw funds at is really with the streets, police, making sure we're keeping those cars updated, and then streets. We've done a really good job at updating this stuff, but when you're maintaining streets, a lot of equipment, some of the equipment over years, for whatever reason, wasn't replaced. And as we're a growing city, you need to be able to like fix potholes with a roller and stuff. And if you don't have it, that's bad news. So really trying to keep up to date on that sort of stuff. You can see the general split out over the years. And really, when you look at the trend line on all this over the past iterations of the plan, it's pretty much held pretty steady through inflation and everything else. And luckily, we did really good with the ARPA, changing out the street, the equipment in public works and the fire truck. That really got us ahead. Prioritization similar to the other plans. I don't need to belabor that. Administration and so forth, just change out the vehicles in 2026, and then a vehicle for the planner. Main reason being is that with the officers going out to trainings and stuff, we're actually running into the occasion where there's like no vehicle to take out at all at City Hall. So it is causing issues. So that is something to take into account. Fire department, the turnout replacement, and then you'll see change outs for the coming years. Police department, change out the vehicles, keeping a rotation schedule. In the plan, you'll notice we have trying to change out some of the lease for some that we would outright purchase. Brian is going to go more into the details of that at the budget workshop, because we're just trying to check fund balances, because police, even though it's an equipment replacement, it comes out of current expense. So that's the one account we have to be very careful of, just because your money is it's always tight everywhere for that. Parks division, you'll see this in the coming years, just change out to current day equipment. Stormwater division, a power washer, deal with the graffiti and so forth. Right now, we're part of that Crime Watch that also functions in Walla Walla, but there's enough all over the place where we do need a unit native here and then a pickup. The streets division, again, just change out the vehicles, dump truck, bucket truck, replacement traffic counters. We use those a ton and they're getting beat up, so we need newer ones. And then you'll see the change out schedule there going into the current year. So really trying to modernize our streets fleet, which is where it needs help. Wastewater division, since we have that as part of the overarching Jacobs contract, we're sitting pretty good there. And then water is pretty subdued as well compared to the history. So nothing earth shattering in there, but it is all laid out there for you to take a gander at.
All right, questions or comments? Councilmember Cleveland?
For our equipment and vehicles, are we primarily maintaining and doing maintenance on those in-house, or do we contract with local repair shops or?
We try to keep it in-house, but I will say there are times we'll go Les Schwab or Beeline because for the large fleet of vehicles, we only do have 2 mechanics, so there are times that they'll get slammed, but in general, we try to keep it in-house.
Okay. Are we generally pretty able to keep up with everything and get the maintenance that we need with those two?
It's a challenge because when you're growing your staff and you're growing your operations, the vehicles need them to be replaced and fixed up. That exponentially grows as well. And the second mechanic I would say was needed a while ago. We only had that about 2 years ago, so we're definitely trying to still play catch up from some deferred fixes and such.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So we set aside, like when we buy a new piece of equipment, we've been then setting aside money every year for when we have to replace that piece of equipment.
Yeah.
What I couldn't quite tell from this plan is you said we're not quite doing that for everything yet.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell which ones are being covered by that and which ones aren't.
Yeah. So there's 2 sections really. So with the police department, there was a concept about trying to maybe see about keeping half in like a lease and half in a purchase, but that really depends on your liquidity because you're having to expend that money earlier if you're buying it. So it's not that it's there, it's a timing issue. Now the one element where there is a timing issue, not timing, but money issue is streets department. And I'll just say under past leadership, there were functions within that streets division that were not getting done. I'll just put it that way. And because of that, now we're at a point where they're trying to keep costs down and do it in-house. But like if you're going to fix a part of a street, you need a roller. And we got rid of it years ago and then never replaced it. So there's elements of significant catch up in the streets division.
Maybe I need to follow up with you
Yeah.
because I don't think that answered my question, but I don't think I'm expressing my question
Oh.
very well. So, but I don't think we need to spend more time on it in this meeting.
Councilmember Jessup?
With that being said, this may be a bad time to bring it up, but does the department feel like they're equipped with whatever the regulations may be for winter? So being able to keep up with the streets and maintenance and whatever that requires in order to keep them safe during the winter time, since it seems to me that the snow is more and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yes, we've been making strides for that. So we do have a one replacement dump truck, and a big thing we did as well is we actually have the liquid de-icer, which we've never had before. We didn't even have the tank to do that or the equipment, and now we have both. So this will be the first winter ever with that. So there should be marked improvement there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. So you guys feel like, I mean, you're telling me that you're working on the budgeting of things.
Yeah.
So please, I understand that. But in the thought process of, safe walk to school and that kind of good stuff, where is the responsibility or need in regards to the sidewalks for kids going to school?
Okay, so I'll say with the sidewalks in general, how the city has always treated it, and in a lot of places, it's the adjoining property owner's responsibility. I'm not saying where it's right or wrong or whatever. That's just how it is. I'll say in our element, it's really been more so a question about staffing because we really struggled to do timely snow removal. I'll say of streets period, in my opinion. And then you would add like the sidewalk on top of that. So then you're dealing with that whole issue. So if that was something we wanted to grapple with, we'd probably have to get some additional equipment for that. And then definitely I would say 1 or 2 extra people. Yeah.
I feel like that's an area where, if we can work with local charities to set up volunteers, because there are people who just can't do it.
Yeah.
And if the college had a list of properties that were really key for walking to school, but the people couldn't do it, and they just, so every time it snowed, they send out 20 volunteers to take them half an hour,
Last year, we partnered with Center for Humanitarian Engagement on that, so.
How did that work out?
I think it worked out well. It was mainly partnering, I'll say, on sites that were closer, like Davis School, more in the interior of the city. So it doesn't really deal with like conditions heading out towards Sager or the high school, but at least some of those interior was dealt with. And those are more dangerous areas too, because you don't really have sidewalks in the center part of the town. So
Yeah, I was just wondering, because often when you have volunteers, it's often unreliable, right? Because, right, you can't, but
Yeah.
I'm so proud to hear that it
Yeah.
worked out great.
Yeah.
What a great team they are. All right. Thank you.
okay.
Okay. Like, did I miss something else? Okay, because you're just like,
No.
I don't trust myself anymore. Thank you, Mike. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he doesn't need to stand up anymore. Okay, so no public hearings, but let's move on to the action items. There's 3 of them on the agenda.
Oops.
So we have 2 on the
Yeah.
agenda?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Let's see, first, Mike is going to deliver a resolution to appoint JUB Engineers as our on-call engineer for the next 4 years.
Okay, yeah, time goes by when you're having fun, so. You all appointed them to the 4-year contract already 4 years ago, believe it or not, in 2020, and it already ended. So we did the competitive RSQ. We ended up getting multiple submissions, about 5 responses. However, in looking at quality of said responses and covering all of our needs, it was readily apparent that JUB was the most responsive in that front, and they've been very aggressive, working lock and step with our staff and trying to get grant funds and get stuff done in a timely manner. Plus, I'll say when there's been issues like with Lift Station 5, if you recall from a couple council meetings ago, when there's mistakes, they actually do take ownership and try to correct it, unlike some other ones that won't be named. So, yeah.
No, thank you.
Oops, I'm sorry. I thought I had my microphone on. No questions or comments. Councilmember Cleveland, Councilmember Espinosa, Councilmember Peterson,
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Williams.
I think I need to recuse myself from this particular item because I am going to be seeking subcontract work with several of these organizations. Obviously, I wouldn't be working on any of the city stuff, but I don't know which ones I might be working with at this point. So I'm going to recuse myself.
Councilmember Sherman,
No questions.
Councilmember Selby.
Whoa, that's a way back.
way back.
I don't know where that came from. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Oh my gosh, I don't know how that came out.
No
Councilmember
questions.
Boyle.
No questions.
Not only was it the wrong person, it was the wrong name for the oh my gosh.
Don't worry, I still occasionally mess up.
I don't get it. I don't get how I just did that. All right. So any further discussion? If there's none, do we have a motion?
A motion to adopt resolution number 24-071, which appoints JUP engineers as an on-call engineer.
Is there a second?
Second.
Can you turn your microphone on?
I will second Espinoza.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any discussion? So first was Councilmember Jessup, second was Councilmember Espinosa. If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it and the motion is passed
With one abstention.
with one abstention. I even wrote it down and didn't say it. Okay. Let me make sure I'm on the right one. Now, Mr. Carlton's going to present on a resolution allowing our city administrator to execute grant reimbursements with Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Mayor. This one will be quick. We currently have a couple contracts with Federal Department of Transportation. It is passed through funds through WashDOT, but that being said, they are requiring council authorize Mike to sign the pay estimates that we have to submit, and this is the document that's in front of you.
All right. Any questions, Councilmember Jessup?
No, thank you.
No, Councilmember Cleveland, Councilmember Espinosa,
No questions.
Councilmember Peterson.
So this is the finalization of that?
No, it's just he has to be authorized through resolution to be able to sign the pay estimates that we submit.
Well,
Yeah.
So we have that $120,000 contract on the post office crosswalk project, plus we have the congressional direct spending of 2.5 million for Majonier. That's also federal. It's going to be controlled through federal DOT. So we'll need that for that project as well.
great, thanks.
Councilmember Williams,
No questions. Thank you.
Councilmember Sherman,
No questions.
and Councilmember Boyle.
No questions.
All right, so if we have no questions or any additional discussion, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 24-072, which allows the city administrator to execute grant reimbursements with Department of Transportation.
Is there a second?
Second Peterson.
Okay, second Peterson, thank you very much. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, the motion is passed.
Thank you.
Okay, the last item is a Tyler Technology. It's not on the agenda anymore, so we are done. Okay. Okay. So then I need to just read these other ones. Yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna share that. Thank you. So if you want to, what is it? We have no administrative reports. We have 3 information reports in your package. If you haven't read them, please do. We have no executive session for tonight. So oh shoot, I don't trust my phone, so be careful with that. It's been playing all week. Yep. So any other business for good of the order?
Yes, I would like to motion to pass resolution number 24-073. Hopefully that is the accurate number. A resolution of City Council in support of City of College Place Proposition 1 in the November 5th, 2024 general election, a proposition to finance acquiring land and constructing and equipping a new College Place police facility.
Second, Councilmember Williams.
Okay, we have a first and a second on this motion. Any discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it and the motion is passed. Ms. Colwell, thank you so much for getting that to us on such a short notice. Appreciate it. And I do have one more quick thing. Sorry, Mike, I know I didn't tell you about this, but I thought about it as I was listening to your presentations today. I know he's been getting nervous with me lately. It's budget time and they're looking and working through the budget, but I have asked Mike to see what it would take for the city to afford to hire more staff. I have concern over the capacity of our current staffing. They are really busy, way too busy, and I was kind of thinking about something Councilmember Jessup said about public schools, that you just can't be a profession in one subject. You have to be multiple because you have to do multiple things. Well, that's kind of what our staff are doing. They're not just doing their job, they're doing over their job. Or things are not getting done. Public Works, we see all these projects that need to be done. It's probably the number one thing that I get emails or phone calls about from the citizens are issues that are Public Works. You know, our fire and our police, we already know that we've been trying to build up, but our fire hasn't had paid staff very much. Our administration, so HR, finance, Mike, who every year talks about getting either an assistant or a grant manager, and then always takes it off the list so that somebody else can put theirs on the list. And then, of course, our legal, we're looking at a whole different system of courts and as the future's coming, we're not going to be equipped to be able to serve our citizens properly if we don't start staffing up. Obviously, we're not going to do everything at once, but I just want us to start thinking and coming to that realization that we're going to have to do something in order to take care of our staff and to take care of our citizens, because if we're not taking care of our staff, they're not getting stuff done for our citizens. So I think we're just going to have to bite some bullets here and think about those kind of things. So I've asked Mike to talk to Brian and see what kind of things it's going to take. And he hopefully brings something to us for us to consider on how to do some of these things and start getting them done in the next few years, because I'm really nervous about us not being prepared to be able to meet the needs. All right. All right. Any other business for good of the order? Hearing none, do we have a motion to conclude? I can keep on talking.
So move, Councilmember Williams.
Second.
All right, a quick first and second. Yeah. Right.
Just one more time, because I really
Yeah.
think that some of these projects would be perfect for my students.
I
but
can
no.
tell Mike to go through pages at 60 to 89 again. All right, we have a first and a second, so there's no objection. The meeting is concluded at, I don't trust this clock, 8:38 PM. Thanks, everybody. And my apologies for my mind and my mouth and not keeping up. I don't know how I went there.